Hello, everyone, and welcome to the top 8 of Wisconsin Regionals. I am Josue Crimz Rojano, and with me is Mr. Personality himself, Kyle Pooka Sucevich.
Is that my
How do
new
you like that?
nickname?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you like that nickname? I'm coming up with new nicknames for you, so you can match up to the greatest theoretical mind. I don't know if Mr. Personality works for you though. I think I got to keep trying.
We'll discuss it. In this matchup, we're going to have Isaiah, who, of course, is undefeated so far. Took me down in the last round. He's going to be going up against, another guy who's on a hot streak, Joe Baka, a new player from the Chicago area. He won Wisconsin States. So these are the two guys who really are on the biggest streaks right now, going head to head.
Yeah, Joe having won Wisconsin State and Isaiah being the number one seed coming into this top 8 really kind of has a lot of story to it already. The fact that Joe's done so well in this state in his first year, this is his first year playing, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, in his first year playing, and then Isaiah being a relatively newer player and also doing incredibly well at this event is just. I think it really does leave for a really good storyline coming into this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see Joe, he's all ready to go. He's got his game face on, got his hoodie up, he's ready to go.
They're
Isaiah looks
both
like,
ready, man.
yeah, Isaiah is focused as well. We're going to have a Darkrai deck from Joe. I know you are a big fan of Sableye and Junk Hunt, so we're probably going to see that quite a bit. And Isaiah, of course, still rolling with the big basic deck. So what do you think is going to happen here?
I think I'm gonna be extremely happy when Joe flips over that Sableye. Come on, Joe, do it to me. I love having Sableye starts. I love having situations where I can just go something like an Ultra Ball and maybe a Pokemon catcher, set my board up really well, and then Junk Hunt and have my hand really prepared for turn two. Unfortunately for Joe, he did not start with the greatest attacker in the game. He actually started with a pitiful Darkrai.
Well, Darkrai is not that pitiful, but definitely not his ideal starter, that's for sure. You would want to start with that Sableye. But on the other side, Isaiah does have Boufflant, so probably not what he wanted to start with either. He's going to want to go for that Landorus EX, start going for the Hammerhead right away, and really put the pressure on.
I don't know about you, man, but I'm never angry when I start with the Afro Buffalo himself. We do see a Skyla out of Isaiah, and just like in the top 16, that this is going to be his first supporter played. Again, I don't particularly like when I have to do something like this and play a Skyla on turn one. I like being able to play a lot of resources and just kind of like set up a great board position. The fact that your Skyla only gets you one trainer card is not ideal, but it does get him a switch again, just like in the top 16. And now if he can get something like a Landorus in play and an energy, that switch is really going to pay dividends. We do see, I believe it was a computer search, correct?
Yeah, so it looks like he's going to go for Landorus. You can turn one Hammerhead here. And, the Skyla on turn one's not that bad if, you have another supporter to follow up.
Yeah, it really does come down to the fact that he has to have a supporter in his small hand after he's makes this play.
Yeah, and I would assume he does, or at the very least, he'll have a bicycle. So Skyla can actually be pretty strong when, there's really not much you need to get going. Turn one with the big basic deck. Really, you just need an energy, and you can just go. So he needed to get the switch here. He's got it. Looks like he's got an N as backup. And right away, Joe's going to take 60 from that Hammerhead. That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, lucky for Joe, he didn't have a bench Pokemon. Otherwise, that Hammerhead would really be dealing 90 damage, which for one energy is quite a bargain. But Joe can't be happy about his position. Obviously, his opponent not only went first, but also had a turn one Hammerhead, which is exactly what he wants to do. However, Joe does have a Crushing Hammer. Let's see if he gets heads here, and he does. The Crushing Hammer does discard Isaiah's only energy in play, so it's just obviously exactly what Joe wanted to do here. And now we see an Ultra Ball out of him.
Yeah, this is what Joe's going to need to do to slow down this big basic deck. Even though Landorus and Boufflant, Tornadus are all great attackers, the deck suffers from just being able to only attach one energy per turn. It doesn't have that energy acceleration, doesn't have the Dark Patch that Darkrai would have, Blastoise, Electric, all those cards. But he's just going to rely on attaching one energy per turn. And what can happen with Sableye using Junk Hunt to get back two Crushing Hammers every turn? You could start to run your opponent out of energy.
Yeah, now what's interesting too is that Joe didn't have the luxury of being able to discard a Darkness energy from his hand. Now, obviously, he did get to play his hand down to 0 and then Juniper, so I don't know if he really needed that luxury. But the fact that he Ultra Balled and didn't get any Darkness energies in his discard pile can't make him feel too comfortable. You really want to be able to take advantage of that Dark Patch, and that's really what makes this Darkrai deck be so strong. However, with that said, Hypnotoxic Laser makes any deck be incredibly strong. And even though he did get Tails on the Sleep Flip, the fact that he's got a stadium in play, and he also has the ability to pretty much pass his turn and Steel Deal damage is incredible.
Yeah, Darkrai is a deck that takes advantage the most of, I don't want to say broken items, but all right, they're pretty broken. Between Hypnotoxic Laser, Max Potion.
Let's not forget Catcher.
Catcher,
I know
Patch,
Catcher isn't all that great and all, but
Crushing Hammer. I mean, just think. I mean, this deck just revolves around putting yourself in a good position with these item cards, and then kind of coming in with Darkrai to clean up the mess once you've set everything up to get knocked down. Darkrai, the Night Sphere is an incredibly efficient attack, 90 and 30, but it's not as strong as some of the other attacks, so you do need some help along the way with Sableye.
Night Spear plays second fiddle to Junk Hunt in my mind.
In a lot of games it actually does. In this matchup in particular, it could. Just with Landers having that 3 retreat cost, and you can just laser, you can hammer, you can really win the game with your items alone, and then Night Spear can almost be an afterthought.
And we have to thank the awesome Hypnotoxic Laser for that. The fact that, again, you can Junk Hunt and deal damage to your opponent is just, oh man, incredible to me. And yes, we do see that in out of Isaiah. Obviously, has to be incredibly happy that he was able to do the Hammerhead attack and then follow it up the following turn with an N. Now, Isaiah is obviously looking for fighting energy, but he's also looking for a switch here. He's looking for another Landorus. He's not in the best of spots, even though he had such a great turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, his turn 1 actually didn't amount to anything because Joe played that Max Potion, healed off the damage. And so basically Isaiah's turn 1 got reset completely with his energy discarded. The damage is gone. Now he's poisoned, so not the greatest situation for him.
Yeah, and I would normally say something along the lines of, well, yeah, but at least he got rid of the trainer cards from Joe's hand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But hey, look, it doesn't actually matter because Sableye exists.
Yeah, the one thing going for Isaiah is that Joe did not get that awesome turn 1 with 2 energy in play start. He was not able to use Junk Hunt on the first turn. So when you're playing Darkrai, you would like to get that Dark Patch going turn 1, threaten a turn 2 Night Spear by getting 2 energy in play. But when that doesn't happen, the deck actually slows down quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was running my mouth, and I was too busy talking in order to really be able to tell what happened. Did Isaiah actually Pokemon Catcher Joe's Darkrai in order to be able to bicycle for 1 or something like that?
It looked like it. Catching up Darkrai can make it tougher for your opponent to Night Spear, and I think he figured, oh man, if I get Night Speared somehow, my Landorus actually gets knocked out. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was just doing it to draw an extra card. Maybe he was doing it to make it harder for Joe to Night Spear. I'm not sure what the story is.
Okay. Yeah, so we do see that energy be attached to the Sableye this turn, and we also see a Dark Claw get played onto the Darkrai. Now we see a Bicycle out of Joe himself. I think it draws him 2 cards. Nope, 3. He's just drawing them very slowly.
Yeah.
So Joe does get to draw 3 cards off of that Bicycle, which is awesome, really awesome considering the fact that it's just an item and you can play multiple draw cards this way.
Yeah, Bicycle is a card we've really seen become more popular in these kinds of decks where sometimes you just need some item-based draw cards. Normally you would just draw with your supporters, but in a deck like Darkrai where really you can play every card in your hand at all times, Bicycle can be good just to refill up to 4.
Yeah, really, these draw cards are so few and far between, the item-based ones, that it's kind of cool. It's kind of refreshing to see something like Bicycle be printed, and you automatically see what kind of an impact it has on the format, seeing both Isaiah and Joe playing this card. Now, Sableye did Junk Hunt, and again, I was too busy talking to really pay attention. What did Joe get back? I'm going to assume a Crushing Hammer and something else.
Yeah, he got a Crushing Hammer, and then he actually didn't have a supporter in his hand, so he had to go for the Bicycle again. Not a very good hand off of that end from Isaiah. That could mess him up quite a bit. Still no Dark Patches, and he's just going to try to rely on Crushing Hammer to slow Isaiah down.
That's interesting. Again, bicycle it really does play a really cool role here in the fact that it's going to be able to potentially get Joe out of this kind of sticky situation. Obviously, it's no random receiver or anything like that, but at this point in time, I'm sure Joe will take what he can get.
All right, so we do have a Skyla from Isaiah. He's going to grab a max potion, and just like that, that 90 damage is going to get wiped off. And all of a sudden, that Landorus isn't really a liability anymore. He can maybe start to Hammerhead, not have to worry about getting knocked out. And this is just probably the card that's going to define this matchup, that max potion.
Yeah, I'm also not angry if I about seeing this if I'm Joe. I think again, dealing only 90 damage. That's kind of being my damage cap. I know I'm gonna have to fight through these max potions. I don't have a way around it, so I got to do it anyways. So I'm happy to see this one go away, and I'm actually kind of hoping that the other two reprise, to be honest. But after that, I know that I have to fight these things anyway, so it's not the worst.
Yeah, so we do see another catcher from Isaiah, and he's going to Hammerhead the Darkrai for 60 and 30 instead of just going at the Sableye. Again, this is going to make it tougher for Joe to use Night Spear. I don't know if he would even want to in this situation. He might just want to go ahead and Junk Hunt again.
Yeah, that crushing hammer misses. Missing on a crushing hammer here is, I mean, it's not the worst, obviously, but it's still pretty frustrating if you're Joe because you obviously had to find a bicycle with your junk hunt last turn, so your hand isn't ideal. You're really kind of hoping that you can play your hand down as much as possible, and then bicycle for as many cards as you can get right now.
Yeah, now if you're Isaiah, he decided to catcher the Darkrai with the energy. Would you have done that, or would you have gone for the Darkrai with no energy and then forced Joe to have, an energy to retreat?
Well, if you go for the one that has no energy, it makes it a little bit easier to be able to attack. No.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, for example, I Pokemon catcher up the one with no energy, and now if I'm Joe, all I have to do is have like double Dark Patch or double Dark Patch and an energy to be able to retreat or something. Yeah, I mean, I'm channeling Michael Pramwad here, right? I don't know. It's
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, either way, it's I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I think if I'm Isaiah, I don't particularly care, and I don't really want to rely on my opponent just having a Darkrai stuck up there. As long as I get some damage in and all this, it's not that big of a deal. But you do see Joe bicycle for the full amount, which makes bicycle look even better.
Yeah. And he gets the random receiver, so he'll get a supporter off this. So things are starting to look up for Joe, even though I think the main reason Isaiah would go for the one with energy is he knows, all right, this Darkrai is going to be the one that's attacking me, so I want to hit that one for the big amount of damage. And then when it does come up, maybe all I need is like a Hammerhead and a Laser, or it sets it up beautifully for just a Goal Breaker from Boufflant. So he knows this is the Darkrai that's going to be Night Spearing me, and I want to take it out of play as quickly as possible once it does start attacking.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You're absolutely right. Now, if I'm Joe, I'm thinking, well, I don't really care which Darkrai I attack with, as long as I get my Dark Patches. Please don't let him be hidden into the deck for the rest of this game. Yeah. But we do see a Keldeo come into play for Joe, or not only Keldeo, but a couple of Darkrai's. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking there, but anyways, we do see Joe fill up his bench with all these EXs, and now Isaiah's Bouffalant's got more targets than he can handle, I'm sure.
Yeah, and now for Joe, I really wonder what kind of strategy he's going to go for here. The options are almost endless with Junk Hunt. I mean, he could go with the Crushing Hammer strategy, which doesn't seem to be working for him right now. As he flips another Tails, he could just keep Junk Hunting for like lasers and max potions and just heal off his Darkrai's and really force Isaiah to burn a lot of resources because, he's burned 2 catchers already. It might be tough for him to finish off some of those EXs, especially with max potion. But we'll see if he decides to go like a more aggressive approach or if he just wants to sit back with Sableye.
Yeah, I personally prefer the Sableye route, but I guess that's not all that unexpected. I would like to see a Junk Hunt here. My Junk Hunt would probably be going for double Hammer, I believe. But that's just me.
Yeah, there's one of many options. I mean, that's just the luxury Sableye gives you. And we see a computer search. So Joe's going to be able to search for anything. I wonder what he's going for here. He could get a Night Spear this turn if he really wants to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. I mean, that Night Spear brings the the Landorus up to 120 damage on it,
Right, it's going to be
which
150 after the poison.
yeah, you're right. So it does bring it up to 150, which means that it would have to get out of the active spot, which is even better actually. Um, it forces the opponent's Landorus to not really be in suicide mode there, and probably have to be switched out for a Bouffalant's Boofer
Yeah.
or Bouffalant's attack.
Yeah, whatever. Boofer. Gold
The
breaker.
Boofer. I
Close
just call
enough.
it the Boofer. All right.
We'll nickname him that.
The Boofer. All right. So Isaiah is not in the most comfortable position. You would want to see more Landorus's out of Isaiah. You would want to see more oomph out of his deck. You know this. He's got this matchup advantage where these Landoruses can really run over these Darkrai's, but doesn't seem like he's been able to get comfortable into that position yet.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely on the back foot here, but he certainly has ways to get out of this spot. Um, whether it's another max potion, if he could, I mean, switching into his Bouffalon is very, very risky though. He could just end up, if he doesn't heal the damage off the Landorus, he could end up losing both the Bouffalon and the Landorus, and then that's a 3-prize turn for Joe. So this is definitely a situation where he's going to have to draw something to survive this spot.
So how do you like this play from Isaiah? He was debating playing his Pokemon catcher. He knew he was going to end, but he was debating playing his third Pokemon catcher here and activating the Darkrai with 60 damage on it. I'm assuming obviously for my boy Boofer.
Yeah, if he's going to go for the Gold Breaker, then that's definitely what he should do here. And wow, Isaiah drew the perfect hand here, both a switch and a max potion. So this is going to be perfect for him.
I wish I had your eyes, man. Uh, you see all these cards so well, and that's actually you're right. That was a max potion, and that's incredible. That's heartbreaking if you're Joe, and if you're Isaiah, you're just sitting there doing the Boofer dance.
Yeah, this game just turned around completely right there. If Isaiah doesn't get that, I mean, either the switch or the max potion, if he just has one or the other, he's in a bad spot. But if he has both, then, oh boy, his damage gets healed off. And now he's going to have to force Joe to have, I mean, either a Dark Claw will allow him to hit the Bouffalon for 90, or he needs a laser. Otherwise, I think he's going to have to settle for Junk Hunt this turn, because I don't think you want a Night Spear for 70 against this Bouffalon.
Yeah, you are right. Earlier in this game when I said if you're Joe, you're gonna have to fight through these max potions anyway, so you didn't mind seeing that early one.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, you really start dreading these max potions. I mean, you are happy that he played one earlier and he's already played two, but this one was so heartbreaking and so game breaking actually that you just don't know if you can actually handle another one out of Isaiah here, and you don't even know if you could have handled this one. You're now on the back foot. You know that you still have to fight through potentially another max potion, and you just don't have that kind of damage output that you really need to be able to knock out these Landoruses before they get out of hand.
Yeah, now he's going to be able to knock out the Bouffalon here, so that's a pretty big deal. But if I'm Joe, I might consider switching gears at this point. Knowing that Isaiah has burned through 3 catchers already, then maybe you could just start to push up Sableye and just keep getting back your max potion, heal off your Darkrai's, and then just let the laser do all the work. We'll see if he decides to just keep going with Night Spear or if he's going to switch gears.
I'm kind of shocked that he hasn't switched gears already, and I don't know, heartbroken at the same time too. But we do see a Juniper out of Isaiah. Obviously, Isaiah is looking for a bench first and foremost. But after that, he's also looking for, what is he looking for actually? Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think number 1 would be another Pokemon. I'm not sure exactly which one he would grab. Probably another EX at this point. Maybe.
I would just go for another Landorus.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be all Landorus the rest of the way. He gave up the 1 prize with the Bouffalon, and he's still going to force Joe to knock out 3 EXs. That's really strong. I mean, Bouffalon did a ton of damage there, took down a Darkrai, and only gave up 1 prize in return. So the trade-off is definitely going in Isaiah's favor so far. He puts Joe's Darkrai to sleep with the laser, and he's going to be able to hit for 60 plus 30 from laser and Verbank, which is going to add up really quickly.
It adds up so quickly that I can't even do the math, Kyle.
That means if for some reason Joe's Darkrai stays active, which it shouldn't because of the Keldeo, then it would just take 2 single energy attacks to knock out 180 hit point Pokemon.
Okay, that definitely is extremely fast. We see
sums it up.
But we see the Darkrai stay asleep. Again, not all that relevant. We do see a Keldeo on Joe's bench, but still a little frustrating. That's a 25%er right there.
Yeah, I think he would have probably just done this anyway to get out of the poison. But yeah, it's always annoying to see your Pokemon stay asleep.
You would know, right?
Yeah, I got a little experience.
That's a shout out to Nationals and a shout out to the top 16 match. Hopefully you guys all watched it.
It's a shout out to my Pokemon career.
I guess I should have said spoiler alert, but whatever.
My Pokemon are pretty lazy. I don't know what the deal is, but they don't like to
you
wake
did
up.
train them.
Yeah, they must take after me. But yeah, this is why we see Keldeo in these Darkrai decks. Just Laser has become, honestly, a 4 of in almost every deck, every basic deck. And I've even seen some crazy people play him in Stage 2 decks. But that's just how good it is. So you need something to get out of these status effects. Most decks would play Switch, because, you just switch out of it. But with Keldeo, you can rush in, make that the active, and then you get the free retreat from Darkrai's Dark Cloak. You just retreat back, and it's just your one-card solution to get out of any status effect.
All right, man. I'm just dying to see a junk hunt here. I have not seen enough junk hunting this game, and it's really frustrating me. I don't know.
We'll see if Joe does it. I mean, this would be, I don't know if it would be a good spot or not. I mean, I think there's two ways of looking at it. You can junk hunt and then maybe grab some hammers or a laser or something. But if you do that, it could backfire if the Landorus loads up another energy. And once it gets to 3, that Land's Judgment is really scary. Once you start using Land's Judgment, Darkrai's just start falling, and you pretty much lose. So Joe might be thinking, all right, I could junk hunt, or I could Night Spear, just take it to him and make sure he doesn't have the opportunity to load up the Landorus with 3 energy.
Yes! I just raised my arms up really high in the air because we get to see a junk hunt. Joe made the right decision.
Yeah, I do think.
I don't care what you say.
Yeah, I do think this overall was the right move. At some point, I think Joe does have to take his max potion back because there is too much damage sitting around on his board. I think at some point Isaiah's going to get him.
I'm actually a little surprised that he didn't decide to do it this turn. I would have thought that he would have gotten a laser and a max potion here, but the crushing hammer obviously can do work too. But really, it really comes down to getting rid of the damage on your board. That way, the hammerhead isn't as devastating as it could be. And second of all, the hypnotoxic laser kind of gives you an out, so to speak, to get lucky, and also deals a heavy amount of damage and makes your Night Spears actually be lethal.
Yeah, no, Isaiah's playing a Skyla here. I wonder what he's going to search for. I mean, he's played 3 catchers already. If he has a 4th one, he could just catch out that Darkrai and then go for another laser and do the finishing 90, get down to 2 prizes, and then all of a sudden, Joe's in a pretty bad spot.
Did you see a laser in his hand?
I'm not sure, but I mean, that's just an option. I mean, we'll see what he grabs, but if that does happen, I gotta say Isaiah would be well ahead in this game.
Oh yeah, if Isaiah goes down to 2 prizes, really it's going to come down to Joe needing a very crucial in. But the fact that Landorus attacks for such a low energy amount and has such high HP and all that good stuff really does make the end be not as efficient as it would be in other matchups. So Isaiah is definitely trying to get down to 2 prizes here if he can.
Yeah, see him eyeing up an Ultra Ball. That's not really what you would expect to see from a Skyla. I'm not too sure what he would grab with that, but it looks like what he's going for, Ultra Ball.
Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense to me. I can't really come up with a good reason to do that, to be honest.
Well, I guess we'll find out,
huh? Suspense is killing me.
Isaiah will show us what's going through his head, I suppose. But even if he just hammerheads the active here, the damage to Sableye at this point is pretty much negligible. I mean, it probably won't end up affecting the match, but hitting up a Darkrai for an extra 30, that's what's going to matter here.
Yeah, he went through the entire shuffling routine, so that makes me think that there's a chance that he doesn't play the Ultra Ball this turn. Maybe he was going for a specific card and it's prized.
That certainly could be. I mean, that's always a bad feeling when you play a card like Skyla and you're searching out a specific card and it's just not there. I've been there before. You feel kind of silly when that happens, but it's certainly a possibility. Maybe that last catcher was prized because he did just play a laser there.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking was ended up happening now. The fact that Ultra Ball ended up being his next best option is pretty disheartening if you're Isaiah, and you have to be doing a mental fist pump if you're Joe, because you just kind of have a new lease on life here.
Yeah, now he did decide to play the laser on the Sableye. Do you agree with, going after the Sableye here, or would you save the laser for a better time?
Yeah, I definitely don't. I absolutely do not agree with that. I think the laser can be game breaking if in certain situations, and in this one, it just kind of felt like a waste. It doesn't seem like it does very much. The Sableye is going to be going to the bench, and then eventually we'll get hammerheaded. But I don't know. It just not my not as crucial as like maybe a Darkrai KO in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe he's just got a couple left, and he's figuring, all right, this 30 damage can help me get a knockout at some point. Maybe I'll just get rid of it now, and then down the road I'll still have. I think he's still got like 2 lasers left, so maybe he'll still have enough left to be able to play them in those crucial situations.
Okay, that is true. The fact that he got an Ultra Ball out of his deck makes me think that he probably has at least one more laser in his hand, maybe even 2 lasers in his hand. Which at that point, if you have multiples, then all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Get rid of one and get yourself a prize later on in this game.
Now we see they accidentally put 40 on the Sableye instead of 60. There should be 60 on it, but fortunately that doesn't matter at all in terms of the math. Hammerhead's always going to do 30. Lasers are always going to do 30, so that damage is wrong, but it won't end up mattering at all. But if you're Joe here, ooh, this is getting kind of scary. There's 120 on your Darkrai, 60 on the other one. I think he also hit Tails on the hammer again. Didn't put the Landorus to sleep. This might be the turn where you need that max potion.
Yeah, and the fact that you get to kind of junk hunt for free because you know that Sableye is going down anyways is kind of cool. I think you definitely get the max potion, but then what do you get after that? Do you get another laser, or do you go for a hammer? He went for a hammer, but what would you do?
No, he didn't grab the max potion at all, actually. He went for a laser and a hammer.
Oh, wow.
If you're Joe here, I'm not sure. We do see an Ultra Ball from Isaiah dumping those 2 Tornadus EX. He's saying, no thanks, I don't need those in this matchup. But, yeah, I mean, geez, you might go for something as simple as Dark Patch and Max Potion, power up another Darkrai, heal off one of them. But Joe's taking a completely different route. He's still trying the hammer strategy, and we'll see if it works out for him.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a time and place for the hammer strategy. It obviously belongs in the deck if he is willing to dedicate so many deck slots to it. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really know what's going through Joe's mind, but I'm thinking that a max potion is so much more interesting, or not interesting, obviously, but so much more crucial in this situation. And you really just want to try to negate as many prizes as you can from your opponent. And I don't know.
Yeah, we do see a bunch of cards out of Isaiah. He did use that Ultra Ball, got the Bouffalant, played a Switch, and then the Switch was big to get out of the Poison. And then he's gonna, after the Bicycle, he's gonna play another Skyla, which will get him an Energy Switch. He is kind of running low on resources, but will he have enough to just kind of muster up enough power, enough oomph to take those last 4 prizes?
That was a tongue twister right there.
Yeah.
You know what? I really do wish he would have gotten a max potion. That's exactly why. Now that Darkrai has 150 damage on it, man, that is heartbreaking. I hope maybe Joe realized this mistake already, and he does just for game 2's sake, because that really is heartbreaking. What he has to do now is he has to actually promote that Darkrai and attack with it, and hope he doesn't get captured.
Right. And, Isaiah has played 3 catchers. He might not have any left. We saw it's probably prized. He does get another laser off on this Landorus. So, I mean, he will Night Spear for 90. And he's going to actually have an opportunity to set up a huge play here where, he can Night Spear this turn. It'll go up to 120 after the Poison. It'll be a 150 coming back into his turn. Then also the Landorus on the bench will go up to 90. And he could get a catcher 4 prize turn, double knockout on these 2 Landorus EX. So I think that's what he's looking for here.
It's pretty cool how, even though it seems like Isaiah's been kind of had control of this match for the second half of it anyways.
Yeah.
Joe is still kind of in it. The power of Darkrai, the power of Night Spear, and obviously the power of Hypnotoxic Laser is really showing here. And the fact that Joe does have the option to get like a 4 prize turn is just obviously incredible. But at the same time, it's just a great option for him, and hopefully he's going to be able to take that.
Yeah.
For him, anyways. Hopefully for him, he's going to be able to take some sort of a situation right there. And now he's actually playing a Dark Patch onto his bench Darkrai. I would have thought that he would just blatantly attack with the 150 damage Darkrai. What do you think?
Well, he's just using Russian and a Dark Patch before he's going to play the end there, so there's no harm getting an extra energy in play. He'll probably still end up attacking with that Darkrai, but he just wanted to do that first.
Talk about getting value.
It's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you truly want to, I don't think it's ever going to change your play there, but
I mean, getting an extra energy in play is not bad.
Yeah, I guess I just meant like he could have just retreated for the Darkrai.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just a fancier way of doing things, I guess.
Yeah, that is value, man. He's like, all right, I have this ability, I might as well use it.
All right, so we get to see the rest of Joe's deck, actually, with that random receiver. You can get to Juniper, and the only cards left, it looked like there were a couple Sableyes and some Dark Energy, and that's really all he had left. So he's running out of options here. He doesn't have a Sableye either. I was thinking about would Joe actually consider just switching back over to Sableye at this point, because Isaiah has gone through, geez, he might have played all 4 switches at this point. And if you can just keep getting catchers and lasers, you can manipulate the game to a point where, you can maybe just win with 1 or 2 more Night Spears. But he did not put down the Sableye. He didn't want to give that extra free prize out there. It's only got 70 hit points. So what do you think is going to happen here the rest of the game?
I think it would have been very difficult for him to get himself into that position where Sableye kind of locks his opponent out of the game. I think in most situations it's reasonable. This one not quite as much, because his opponent again can attack for 1 energy and all that good stuff. But at the same time, I don't know. I think Isaiah is just really in a good spot here. If he has a catcher here, he's in a great spot. If he doesn't, then he's still in a fine one.
Yeah. We do see another max potion. That's number 3. But where is that one going to go? Is it going to be on the bench Landorus or the active one? I guess it'll depend on. Yeah.
If he's got an energy in his hand, I would like to see it off the active one. For the sole reason of forcing your opponent to. Did I say N or energy? I hope I said energy, because that's what I meant.
Energy, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, man. 4 full art Landorus. So
Landorus is coming to play, baby.
This guy's breaking the bank on this deck.
And yeah, I don't know. I think I would have just. It ended up being irrelevant because he didn't do it, but I think I would have probably just taken it off of the active one. And
well, actually, he did. He healed off the bench Landorus EX. And then he used his attachment on the Boufflant. So he's going to set up for a winning Goal Breaker next turn if Joe can't avoid it.
Can Joe avoid it?
Well, the Darkrai only has 30 on it. The Max Potion, though, takes away that 4 prize catcher turn where you could knock out one Landorus just with a 90 and then finish off the other one with a 30. So he's going to catch up another Landorus. I'm actually pretty sure Isaiah's out of switch at this point. So whatever he has active, he just kind of has to go with it at this point. And, man, that gets scary when, you can only attack with your active. You can't move anymore. That opens up a lot of plays for Joe.
Yeah, and Isaiah's deck is running really thin now, too. I mean, obviously Joe's is too. They're deep in this game, but Isaiah's deck being really thin really does lower a lot of his options and puts him on a very fast clock, too. So Isaiah's going to obviously need to attach an energy immediately to his active Pokemon, put some pressure back onto Joe, and hope to take that last prize. This is going to be a close one.
Yeah, I think if you're Joe, you might not even knock out this active Landorus, because if Isaiah can attack you with Hammerhead, then you're going to be at too much damage. Boufflant can just come up and swing for the win. Joe, unfortunately, is at 3 prizes, so the math doesn't work out for him very well at all. He's going to need to get Sableye, I think, if he wants to win.
So you're suggesting maybe going retreating for the Keldeo and just letting the Keldeo take some hits and forcing your opponent to have multiple catchers?
Maybe. If that's what it comes down to. I don't think you can take the risk of just knocking out the active unless you have an N.
Yeah, okay. That is true. And do you think Joe's in decking mode here?
I don't think it comes to that. I think if you can get Sableye, if you can Junk Hunt, honestly, all it takes is a one crushing hammer at this point. You discard that double colorless, I think you actually win the game. Isaiah's going to run out of energy here. Even, catcher up, if you catcher, just rotate the Landorus, maybe you can just win that way. I don't know. Joe's got tons of options because once you run out of Switch, you run out of lasers, all that stuff, you really are vulnerable to all these items.
Yeah, obviously Max Potion here would also be pretty nice if he can junk up for it. Things like that. Really, you want to make Isaiah struggle really hard to try to get his last prize. And honestly, dealing 60 damage a turn is a pretty nice clock.
Yeah, now, Joe, we saw in his deck earlier, he had at least two Sableyes left in there, and he had some pretty good odds of drawing one. So I'm thinking if he had one, you almost have to just settle on Junk Hunt this turn. With Isaiah's hand size, you can't just kind of attack in there and say, oh, hope he doesn't have an energy. That's probably not a good strategy. But if he does not have Sableye to get back some items this turn, he could be in some trouble. It might not just be game over.
Well, if he doesn't have the Sableye, then he obviously retreats for the Keldeo. But
I mean, he'd do that, or maybe he might take the risk. Say maybe you're out of energy.
the problem with taking that risk is, again, your opponent has such a stacked hand. He probably just counted his opponent's discard pile to see how many both Sableyes are still in there, huh?
Look at his remaining cards. Two Sableyes and a Bicycle. I think 3 out of 4 of those cards would probably get him a Sableye. That's painful.
Yeah, I think he just counted his opponent's discard pile, counted how many energies are in the discard pile, and you have to assume that there's, at least like from my perspective, you have to assume that there's probably at least a couple left. So between Isaiah's very, very small deck and his very large hand, you have to assume that Isaiah's going to have the energy.
Yeah, I think so too.
If I'm Joe, I pass here. I retreat for Keldeo and pass here.
Well, he's going to go for
Joe
it.
Doesn't. Yeah. And you see Isaiah immediately activate that Buffalon. I hate that feeling when I do that. When my opponent immediately activates the Pokemon that I'm fearing the most, my heart just sinks, and I know what's coming. And so did Joe. And Joe almost scooped before Isaiah dropped the energy.
Yeah, that might have just been an inevitable situation. If you don't Junk Hunt that turn, then there's almost just too much damage on all of your stuff. Because eventually, I mean, Joe's only got, 4 cards left in his deck. He might deck out, honestly, before Isaiah does. I don't know how many cards Isaiah had left, but it just seemed like he was going to Hammerhead, hit the Darkrai. The Keldeo would be at 60 damage. The other Darkrai would be at 60 damage. The other one would be at least 120. I mean, Buffalon's got to be able to come up at some point. I don't know.
Call me crazy, man, but this is why I play Super Rod in my Darkrai deck.
You're crazy.
I will not get decked. I will not. I refuse to get decked when I'm Darkrai. I will deck my opponent. If he's got a 30-card deck and I have a 5-card deck, I'm going to deck my opponent. I love you, Sableye.
All right, so we can see these guys in between games. You can see Joe a little upset after that game. He probably thought he had it at some point, and then the big turn with the Switch and the Max Potion got him. He's going to be focused for game number 2, but for Isaiah, train is still going. He's not dropped the game yet.
Yeah, wow, that is interesting. Or that is true. He hasn't dropped a game yet. How crazy is that?
Yeah, he's on a roll. What else can you say? Some guys, they just have the run of a lifetime, and it looks like Isaiah's in the middle of one right here.
And you know what? Joe actually put up a great fight here. In my opinion, it was a little bit questionable, the fact that he didn't go for Max Potions. I think it actually ended up being one of the things that did him in here. Mm-hmm. But not only that, but Joe was in the thick of things for the entire game. This feels like this might be Joe's match to take to game 3 at least. Like being able to go first, being able to do all these things. I would expect a game 3 here if I'm Joe, or if I'm me, let alone Joe.
Yeah, this is probably as close as we get to a 50-50 matchup in Pokemon. These decks are very evenly matched with Sableye, all the tricks you get. And just going up against Landorus, who is an extremely efficient attacker, those Max Potions, the Buffalon. These decks just go toe-to-toe with each other, and it's anybody's game, that's for sure. Joe did get kind of unlucky when it came to those Crushing Hammer flips. The fact that Isaiah, honestly, drew pretty darn well for most of the game. So if you're him, you can't be feeling too bad.
However, Joe is going to have an interesting starting Pokemon here.
Yeah, he's going to open up with that the Keldeo, which normally you don't mind, but normally when you put it down, you have a Darkrai out. But when you don't, he does have a 2 retreat cost, and oh boy, Joe passes.
Yeah, this is. I don't know. This might be a stretcher, but I would think that this is not Joe's ideal start.
I would say he'd want something maybe a little better.
Call me crazy, but we do
Oh.
see a Burbank City gym immediately out of Isaiah. Oh, I hope for Joe's sake that we don't see a hypnotoxic laser, but that might be wishful thinking because if you're skyling for the stadium,
Let me tell you, that is a scary feeling. When your opponent Skylas for that stadium, what else does he have? Jeez.
oh boy,
Double
double
colorless?
colorless. Oh
You,
man,
you fear for the worst there. But
you know
honestly,
what though? I'm still kind of happy if I'm Joe here.
yeah.
I didn't. We do see a tails on the crushing hammer, so my smile definitely goes away very quickly there. But
Oh, there's a smile, though. Top deck's the random receiver. Gets a
top deck the
supporter.
random receiver and got a jumper. Wow.
All right, so Joe's still alive. He does have to shuffle, even if it's the top card of your deck. You do need to shuffle your deck. Obviously, Joe's not in a favorable spot, but he'll survive. Hopefully, he can get the Keldeo out of there, because the last thing he wants is that thing to get knocked out. Then he's susceptible to laser for the rest of the game, and that's just not good.
I think Joe might have multiple catchers here or something like that. Feels like he's debating. It feels like he's gonna Juniper, but it felt like he was about to drop it, and I saw 2 cards with the exact same kind of artwork on him.
Yeah, he does have catcher.
Double catcher, wow.
Does he want to catch up a Landorus here? That would make, Landorus honestly isn't the Pokemon you want to see active, but
I think it's better to see Landorus active than Tornadus with the double colorless on it, but Joe disagrees.
he might think, I want a laser and just go after the thing that has energy. But yeah, it could end up backfiring if Isaiah can pull off that big power blast and a laser to knock out his Keldeo.
We see the greatest start combination in the history of the game here. Just kidding. That shout out probably goes to Rocklock. But
Oh no, this one's not bad either.
yeah, this one isn't too shabby. We have a hypnotoxic laser powered by Isaiah's own stadium, so that's kind of cool for Joe. And we're also going to see a junk hunt here. I am smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah, this is what Joe wanted for sure. The only way this could have gone better, and honestly, this might be the big game-changing flip, was that crushing hammer. If he had gotten heads, he's on top of the world. But now this is going to be a scary turn for him if Isaiah can knock out his Keldeo.
Yeah, Joe actually discarded quite a few cards in that Juniper. He discarded double energy switch and I believe a dark patch. Obviously dark patched as well. So he had a lot of options, and he still went for I believe, a hypnotoxic laser and a crushing hammer. So
seems to be his 2 cards of choice with junk.
Exactly. It seems to be like that's going to be his default. He'll only stray from it in like really necessary situations, but it seems like he just really enjoys the power that this laser brings, and obviously he didn't want to bring these crushing hammers into his deck list not to use them. So
Oh boy, this is the big turn. Goes for the bicycle for 1. Does he get the laser? Oh, no, it looks like he missed it. If he would have gotten that laser, that Keldeo goes down, and Joe is just unable to rush in out of the status for the rest of the game. But now there is 160 damage on that thing. And if it goes to the bench, I mean, just a hammerhead finishes it off, and Joe could be in some trouble.
that is a heads-on crushing hammer. That's very interesting.
Turned too late, but that he's not going to argue with discarding a DC there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. Wow, and a Juniper out of Joe. Joe's feeling pretty good.
He's
Well,
he's
Joe,
crossing his
Joe,
fingers
yeah.
for max potion, though. I'm sure that I can't overstate how much having that Keldeo is an advantage. I mean, think of how much the poison damage adds up if you can't switch out of it. I mean, if you lose that thing, you open yourself up to just the laser damage adding up, falling asleep and staying asleep. You obviously lose the 2 prizes on it, but that thing is a card you cannot afford to lose in this matchup, and there's a very real possibility that he will lose it next turn.
Yes, unless he got the max potion, but I think he would have already played it.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he got it. Yeah, and this is going to be a huge advantage for Isaiah. And not a good spot for Joe, that's for sure.
We are going to see a junk hunt here. What do you think he's going to junk hunt for?
Maybe his tried and true hammer and laser?
Why do I even ask?
Now, he could go for a dark patch here. He might want to switch gears now and start going at him with Night Spear, and it looks like, yeah, he goes for the hammer and a dark patch. So changing it up a little bit.
I don't know what his hand is, obviously, but unless his hand had an energy switch in it or something like that, I think I would have preferred to see Dark Patch energy switch here. The Crushing Hammer, as nice as it is and as strong as it is, isn't going to be as relevant as having all these options for the remainder of the game. Max Potion.
Yeah, big turn for Isaiah here. He smells the blood in the water, and he knows, all right, I'm going to finish off that Keldeo, get my 2 prizes. I'm going to take away Joe's option to get out of my lasers for the rest of the game. Healing off the Tornadus, we just reset everything Joe's done so far.
It's crazy how many times Isaiah's been able to do that.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you attack for 1 energy, the fact that you have such strong attacks, and oh man, you have such high HP. Really makes Max Potion insanely good in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it pretty frequently last year. It made the biggest splash in those Kling Klang decks. I know those are your favorite. But beyond that, we usually saw it as like a one-of card and maybe some Darkrai decks here or there. And this season, it's just kind of taken off with Landorus. Just healing off this guy with 180 hit points. And then you just get the Hammerhead. And boy, this is a huge turn. This is what I'm talking about with Laser now. And he goes to sleep, catches up the Darkrai. He's going to Hammerhead, knock out the Keldeo. What does Joe do from here?
He doesn't wake up. That is one thing he does not do.
And look, now you basically are down 4 prizes or you can't do anything about it. You're just down 4 prizes.
The frustration is setting in as he Crushing Hammers for nothing. Twice. Oh man, I really feel bad for Joe here. However, he does get heads on his Crushing Hammer. Really, the fact that he lost to Keldeo is game breaking. Really, it's gonna make these Hypnotoxic lasers so strong, just like we saw here. Obviously, it's not very often that you get to stay asleep at the beginning of your turn after your opponent lasers, but it does happen, and it happened here. And now that Darkrai is dead in the water.
I don't know. Isaiah's pretty good at it. He's mastered the art of the laser pretty well, I gotta say.
We see an energy switch out of Joe. He's just trying to preserve his energy here. Obviously, the guy doesn't play switches, I would assume anyways, seeing as how he plays the Keldeo.
Yeah, most Darkrai decks don't play any switch cards, just the Keldeo. Some people do. Some people do play like a switch. I've seen Scramble switch sometimes, but Joe definitely does not. He's going to be stuck whenever he's asleep.
Yeah, I go to body language a lot when I do these casts, but that's because they really do tell a story. You see Joe kind of being limp here, and he's definitely not excited. That's for sure. He's sitting up. He realizes the fact that he's not out of the game yet, but it is disheartening if you're in this spot and you're Joe and you just saw the ridiculousness happen over these last couple of turns. You're just not happy about the situation at all, and I mean you can't help but show it.
Yeah, how can you be happy? You're down 4 prizes and you got no damage on the guy's board. Like, well, what is there to be happy about here? Boy, this is a long road ahead, especially considering Landorus can just do 60 to your Darkrai for a fighting energy. How do you ever expect to come back from this? And Isaiah, he's got to be thinking about who he plays against in top 4 from here.
Yeah, I think Sableye can do a lot of magic. Like, Sableye really can work a lot of wonders here. And
so can N.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I don't really think it can do anything if he doesn't have an N as backup. And before I could even get those words out, Joe does play his N. So this is step 1. Step 1 was getting your opponent's options out of his hand. And now step 2 is kind of relying on having Sableye do a lot of work for you.
Yeah, now comebacks do happen a lot in this format. This situation is not unreasonable to get out of because honestly, look at Isaiah's deck. It's probably got 30 cards left in it still. So there's a lot of, fat in there. Dead cards you don't want to draw. All of his Pokemon are still in there. And when you get N down to 2 cards, your odds of drawing the things you would want, like supporters and all that stuff, are pretty low, honestly, when you have, you still have all your Tornaduses, your Landorus, your Bouffalant. Even, I guess, double colorless wouldn't be the worst thing, but you might struggle to draw stuff. And Joe, he's showing us he does not like the hammers too much today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And that crushing hammer would have been very important. Getting your opponent not only down to 2 cards in his hand, but 0 energy in play would have been a very, very crucial step towards coming back. That Tails makes me think that he's going to have to get a double crushing hammer here.
Either that or you have Isaiah at 2 cards. Do you go for the Night Spear and just try to say, all right, he's at a low hand size. I'm going to try to capitalize on this right now.
Well, I'm a passive player, so I wouldn't. But I can definitely see a more aggressive approach taken there. But I would have liked... He does have a max potion in his discard pile, no? Or has he not drawn one yet?
I don't think he's played at this game, no.
Okay, yeah. So without having drawn one, then I guess double crushing hammer for me. But if you want to attack, it's a little risky.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. I mean, you could just sit back on the hammers, hope for that. Or you might think, boy, I put him down at 2 cards, and I'm down 4 prizes. I'm going to have to get lucky pretty much no matter what this game. So maybe we'll give my opponent the least amount of time possible to draw out of this situation. And I'm just going to Night Spear, cross my fingers, and hope for the best. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Isaiah not only does, but what he drew. He has a 3-card hand now, thanks to his draw for the turn. Yeah. And Isaiah is currently just looking to maintain pressure. He wants to draw energies. He wants to draw supporters, computer search, all these good things. Even though he does have a lot of dead cards in his deck, he's also got a lot of live cards. He's got a lot of cards that'll help him fortify his position and help seal this game off.
Yeah, the thing about Isaiah's spot is that even the cards that would look to not be that good, I mean, stuff like a laser, it doesn't look like a great card in this spot, like you'd rather have a supporter, but what it does, it buy you time. It forces Joe to retreat, maybe you can keep him asleep, you put more damage on his board. So honestly, there are a ton of cards Isaiah could draw, but there are still those duds that he doesn't want to draw to. And it looks like he's got a handful of duds right now.
Yeah, a laser keeping Joe asleep would actually just be game ending, I think.
Yeah.
But
literally.
But passing is not game ending. Passing is actually the opposite of game ending. It extends it, and now Joe is gonna be in a good spot.
Yeah, it looks like it. If Isaiah, just like that, there's a laser. I was gonna say if Isaiah doesn't do anything within these next couple turns, and
oh no,
is this how it's gonna end? If he's asleep, he actually just loses.
Yeah, if he stays asleep, this game is actually over. Now, if he doesn't stay asleep, the game is pretty much over anyways. But...
Joe knows a big flip.
Oh, man. Okay, the big flip, and he got heads. The game continues. And I'm actually kind of happy for this. I'm excited to see this game continue. I think...
I don't think anyone wanted to see it end like that. Well, maybe Isaiah.
Joe's got 120 damage on his active Darkrai. It's poisoned, which means it's got to get out of the active spot, obviously. Is he going to continue the pressure with his bench Darkrai, or is he going to junk hunt? I think he has to continue the pressure now.
Yeah, I think he does too. I mean, you can't... What happens if you junk hunt is if he gets a fighting, then you pretty much just lose. It's going to be 2 hammerheads. You can't stop him from really doing that. Maybe with a crushing hammer, but do you really want to put it on that? Just go ahead and Night Spear, put the pressure on, and honestly, you could win in as little as 3 turns. There's a max potion from Joe.
Man, okay, what I was going to say right now was I would continue attacking until I drew my max potion. And at that point, I would kind of switch gears and try to play the lock game. Now that he played the max potion this turn, though,
there's the max potion.
Oh goodness, man, max potion is strong.
Yeah, I mean, and there's another card.
What laser is too.
Yeah, there's another card Isaiah could just draw. I mean, max potion buys him more time to draw out of the situation. Fortunately, Joe wakes up. Man, I think Isaiah almost gets heads every time for his laser, and that's the worst feeling when your Pokemon's asleep, let me tell you.
because that's fair, right? Seeing an item kind of destroy your game. We
Yeah.
see an Ultra Ball out of Joe. I don't really think it's all that relevant. He's probably just going to search for another Sableye or something, or even a Darkrai. It's not all that important.
Yeah, for Joe, this is the turn where back to Junk Hunt, I think.
Oh yeah,
You obviously can't leave that Pokemon active. We do see a
yeah,
Bicycle.
absolutely.
Gonna draw 4. But yeah, you have to get back some items here. I mean, the poison damage is gonna add up if you don't.
I would find a Max Potion and a Dark Patch personally, or maybe double Dark Patch.
Hmm.
The reason for Max Potion, in my opinion, is that I know I'm going to probably need it anyways, so I might as well just get it now and not force myself to junk on it at a later date. Later
Yeah, I
date.
would even consider like even something as simple as Laser and Max Potion. Heal
Yeah,
off your damage and then just keep. I mean, going with the Laser. Your Sableye is not going to get knocked out. There's actually nothing Isaiah can really do to knock out your Sableye. But he's going to go for Dark Patch and was that Laser?
yeah. He kind of combined what we both said, and he did neither, but my half and your half combined
Ooh.
got him a nice junk hunt.
So Isaiah finally top decks a supporter. That's probably the only one he didn't want to draw, honestly. It's going to delay him a turn from getting another supporter, but I guess it's better than some other stuff he could have drawn. This will most likely get him a Juniper. If he's feeling particularly risky, he could go for a Bicycle and then live with the results, but I think we'll probably see him take a Juniper.
If I could get my hand down to a one card hand plus the bicycle, I would get a bicycle.
You
But
could draw 3.
yes, and I know that just sounds arbitrary, and it kind of is. I just like kind of gave a random number, but the truth is that if you can draw 3 cards, I would expect to draw some sort of gas out of that. And drawing something like 2 cards really doesn't give you much. Like you're trying to find as many options as you can. You really don't want to be as susceptible to N as you can be. So sometimes you kind of have to live with a smaller bicycle. But he actually goes for the Juniper, and we'll have to see if his opponent has an N here.
Yeah, I know Joe does have one in his hand, so this is definitely another one of those spots. You have to disrupt Isaiah. You have to shuffle that Juniper, and you cannot afford to let the guy draw 7 cards. You
Yeah,
pretty much
absolutely
lose at
not.
that point.
Now I think you're still going to see a junk hunt here. Um, well, I guess it depends on what the end gives him. I just really want to see something like a max potion and something else. Like I want to see max potion dark patch or max potion max potion dark patch probably.
Well,
Um,
I mean, if you think about it this way, and this is a big N, you can see both guys are pretty focused at this point. Joe's almost like resigned to the fact that, whatever. If you draw it, all right, I lose. But if you think about it this way, you could Night Spear this turn, hit maybe the Tornadus, and then all of a sudden, coming back into your turn, that Landorus it'll be up to 170 or something like that. You can catch with the Tornadus, take your 4 prizes, and win next turn.
this is why you're a genius, Kyle. This
That's
is
what Laser does for you.
this is why you are a genius, my friend. You're right. I didn't see that play, but you're absolutely right. That is definitely an option. Um, yeah, I didn't see what Joe's hand currently is, but he's gonna be retreating the Sableye. It looks like. Um,
Gosh, I mean, if Isaiah doesn't have a max potion, I think he loses this game. We see a computer search in Joe's hand actually, so it might come down to this. I don't know. Does Joe want to junk on here? I don't think he's in any danger of being knocked out if he goes for the Night Spear. So it might come down to what Isaiah draws this time.
so many options, really,
Yeah,
and I don't even think any of them are that bad. Like he can play so many different ways and probably end up in a favorable position here if he's Joe. The
yeah,
power of Darkrai decks.
yeah. I think Joe's just trying to figure out what gives me the least opportunity to get burned here, and he's saying, you know what, you need a lot of cards to get out of this. So let's just go ahead and Night Spear, and I'm gonna cross my fingers. You've been drawn super well this entire match. I'm gonna hope your steam runs out for once.
So he's at 140 damage on the Landorus. Um,
Oh, jeez.
the
And
Tornadus has
Isaiah,
90 on it.
I think Isaiah drew pretty well off of this. I saw a Skyla and a Fighting Energy, so if he can Skyla for that max potion, heal off the Landers, and then just Hammerhead this turn, all of a sudden he's back in the lead.
Huh.
These are just little things here that can swing the game. If Isaiah doesn't heal, Joe just wins next turn, I'm pretty sure. But if he does, then Isaiah wins next turn. It's a really fragile kind of a situation, but Max Potion is the card that gives your guys some stability.
Yeah, I'm staying quiet here because much like I'm assuming many of the viewers here, I'm thinking about how many options Isaiah might have and what I would personally be doing. And you know what? This is actually really incredible. First of all, the Skylar is so fortunate for
Yeah.
Isaiah. But I mean, once you get over the fact that he might have gotten a little bit lucky here, Isaiah's got a he doesn't have a foothold on this game, but he's definitely got the advantage again, and that max potion plus the ability to put pressure on your opponent's Darkrai is really going to put um, maybe too much pressure on Joe here. And again, this is why I personally would prefer to have something like a max potion in my hand
Yeah.
as soon as possible because I just want to get away from these situations if I'm Joe. I just want to be able to have an answer to this, and I don't know if Joe does.
Yeah, I don't think you can fault Joe for doing what he did. I mean, geez, Isaiah's already played 2 Max Potions. He's already played a bunch of Skylas. You can't expect this of an ended 2, that's for sure. And if he doesn't have the Max Potion, you just win the game. So it's hard to fault Joe for what he did. Maybe Junk Hunt's a little safer, but then at the same time, you do give your opponent more opportunities to draw out of the situation. But this is just what can happen. It can backfire. And, there's 120 on this Darkrai. If Isaiah has a catcher, he just wins.
This is the beauty of card games, right? Like there's so many options. You really can't fault people for making aggressive plays or being conservative or anything like that. But sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't, and you kind of have to um, just figure out what you want to do and stick with it and hope for the best. And Joe here is in a tough spot, that's for sure. That Max Potion was really game breaking. It really gives Isaiah the lead again, and Joe's got to find a way to extend this game to game three.
Yeah, man, I don't know what that one card is for Isaiah, but if it's a catcher, this game might be over unless Joe hits a crushing hammer because his Max Potion is gone. And geez, what would he go for here? He's gonna computer search.
Hmm.
Geez,
Probably a crushing hammer. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I would think of crushing hammer here.
he's got
He
one
can go
left.
for a catcher, but yeah, I think I go for a crushing hammer here. Your opponent's got a one card hand. Um,
Gosh, I
I don't
mean,
know.
this is it's an impossible situation. I mean, there's no way you can know for sure what the right thing is to do here. He's gonna grab a Dark Patch, it looks like, and he's just gonna live with the result. He's gonna attack with that other Darkrai, Night Spear, and then say, you know what? Next turn I'll have a win. If you have the catcher this turn, congratulations, you move on. If not, we're gonna go to game 3.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if Isaiah does have it or not. But it's again he's going with the aggressive route. He's saying, you know what? I've been aggressive this whole
And
game. Oh my goodness,
oh
he has
wow,
catch, and Joe jumps out right out of his seat just like I did, and that's it. That's the game. Isaiah does win 2-0. Isaiah has that Pokemon catcher. He doesn't even need to draw for his turn. He had the perfect 3 card combination out of that end, Kyle.
what else can you say about that? You got to feel for Joe there as his buddies come over and console him. But well played by Isaiah. What else can you say? Sometimes the cards fall your way. If you're Joe, sometimes they don't. But great match nonetheless.
Yeah, oh yeah. Joe played extremely well as well. He decided to be aggressive in this match, and you kind of see how it did and didn't work out in certain spots. He forced Isaiah to have answers. He literally said, Isaiah, if you do not have a max potion here, I am going to be in the lead. I'm probably going to win this game, and I'm going to take it to game 3. Isaiah said, hey, look, I have it. And guess what? You're going to need to maybe go for a crushing hammer here if you're Joe. And Joe said, no, I'm going to keep my aggressive route. I'm going to keep going for these attacks. I'm going to force you to have the Pokemon catcher. And he did have the catcher. And that was it. That was it. That was the end of Joe's run in the top 8. Isaiah continues on to the top 4. And Isaiah is still undefeated.
Yeah, he hasn't even dropped a game yet. But I think if you've played any sort of card game for any extended amount of time, you've been in situations like this where you don't know if what you're doing is the right play. And sometimes it is just up to what's in your opponent's hand. And unfortunately for Joe, Isaiah had the cards to beat him. But for Isaiah, it's moving on. but not a bad performance at all for Joe with that top 8 finish.
Absolutely. Well, for Mr. Personality, I am I am Crimz, and we'll see you guys for the top 4.